about my weight loss journey. So I will link a before picture right there. And why I say my weight loss. Everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are watching this. Thank you for tuning in and watching our episode today. So why I said episode is because this, as you can see by the title, is going to be about my weight loss journey. So I will link a before picture right there. And why I say my weight loss journey is because this has honestly been a super long experience. We're just coming up, the 10-year challenge just came back onto social media again, hashtag 10-year challenge. So before we start everything, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Share your ideas in the description box, in the comment section. And don't forget to share with someone that you know would be able to use this. That fly was so annoying. Share with anyone that you know would be able to find this very useful. I hope you all find this useful as well. And I know there's a lot of people that are watching that have been waiting for me to share my story and my journey on this. So I'm super excited to finally be bringing that to you guys today. Okay, so first of all, I will be looking at my phone, because overall I took down a lot of notes because I wanted to make sure I put everything, and I didn't miss anything. But I'm probably gonna still miss some stuff. If there's anything that you guys wanna know more information about before I even get started, just make sure that you leave your comments and I'll look back on each episode that I do and address those comments at the end of the next episode that I will do. Okay, so first to get started, overall this series or these episodes is going to be about 3 to 4 episodes long, because I don't want to, first of all, overburden myself with the amount of emotions I'm probably going to face with what I'm going to have to bring up, the type of content I'm going to be talking about, and the fact that I'm still going to have to edit this afterwards and then add in and do everything else. So I just want to first make sure that I'm doing what I'm capable of and not going outside of that. So respecting my own boundaries. And also at the same time, I'm going to break it up into different sections. So each episode will almost be something separate in itself. So the different things that I'm going to really touch on, some of the things I'm going to touch on over the course of this series are, first of all, obviously the weight loss journey. When I first actually started realizing I was actually losing weight, when I started realizing and I started actually doing more work and started actually making some more significant changes for weight loss, when I had realized that I had gotten so low in weight loss that I actually had to end up going and staying with my mom for a certain amount of time. So I'll get more into that, as well as actually when getting so small, having to actually gain back weight. So the process of actually gaining weight after losing so much weight, and actually when I figured out what it was that my body actually needed. So the different type of workouts my body needed, the different type of food my body needed. And when I figured out what it was in terms of the look and the shape that I wanted for my body, and figuring out the workouts and the eating regimen that would be able to work for me for that time, as well as be able to maintain me overall for a long period of time. Because as I said, 10-year challenge, it is going on about 10 years now. Since I've had my weight loss, been maintaining weight loss, has been about 5 years now. So yeah, I'm super excited, as well as I will be touching on, I will be touching on as well, the assumptions, a lot of the assumptions that I got in regards to my weight loss. Some of them were funny, some of them were actually really hurtful, and you'll understand more when I talk more about the whole entire process of the weight loss. So the certain things I went through, that's why it makes sometimes when I hear some of the assumptions people have, it's really difficult, because it's like, only if you knew everything I actually went through during this weight loss journey, I don't know if you'd have that same assumption, and if you would, that would still be your own personal opinion. So let's dive right into this. Let me just unlock the phone. I made a lot of notes, as I said. So first, we're gonna start on how it all started. So how it all started and when I actually realized I was losing weight. So actually, before all that, so the first thing we're gonna actually touch on is what it was like growing up as someone that was categorized as overweight. So honestly, growing up as someone that was categorized as overweight, it was difficult, but I was able to put up the face and the front that made it look like, oh, this didn't bother me at all. But I definitely had those times when I was crying to myself in elementary school. Before grade 6, I probably had about 10 diaries on, like, because I was like very, very good with making diaries and doing diaries. So every day, literally, I would write down what happened, like how I was feeling, what jokes I probably got made fun of, or the things that people probably said about me that day in terms of my weight. So I would really write down all those things, and sometimes I'd even go back and look at them. And even at one point in high school, when I was in grade 9 or grade 10, I still had all my diaries. My mom, no one in my family actually even knew I had the diaries because I hid them very well. So my mom's probably watching this like, oh my gosh. So yes, mom, at any time, feel free to not watch. And I'm definitely actually gonna make sure that I actually show my mom these before posting them, so that she's also able to process everything before actually watching it online as well. So yes, in high school, I actually went through and looked at all the journals that I was writing when I was in elementary school. And it was actually really difficult even at that age to even read them, because at that time I was still overweight. So I was overweight from, I would say, probably about grade 4 all the way up until 2013. So yes. So from grade 4 all the way up to 2013. And so yeah, that was like really most of my life was lived as someone being overweight. So I got a lot of jokes all the time. A lot of people would make fun of me all the time, as some people that may be watching this may have also experienced this themselves. It was actually really difficult. Even the smallest things that I don't even believe like people really think about, or even like if I were a teacher now, I would probably think about. One thing major was in elementary school, you have a lot of like concerts and things that the class takes part in, and each class would probably do something on stage. So a lot of the times in our elementary school, at least, they would bring everyone on a field trip to the mall where we would all go and pick out outfits that all matched so that we all looked the same on stage. So that was really fun, but that's also where you realize as such a young child that it's like, I'm different than everybody else, because the big story growing up was siblings that they would take us to during school, because I went to a Catholic school. So they would bring us to siblings all the time. Anytime we had event coming up at school where we all had to be in the same type of uniform or type of look, looking cohesive all together. And when we would walk into siblings, even being in grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, I never fit into anything. I never wore siblings in any stage of my life as a child. I never fit into those kids stores. That was never something I experienced. I never got that experience as a child. Like even when I would go to the mall with my family, like my cousins and their moms would go in there, and me and my mom would be going into a completely separate store, because in grade 6, I was already wearing like size 5, size 7 in adult pants. And I was already about a size large in tops. So that was honestly actually super difficult, but I didn't try and make it seem like when I was at school or in public that it bothered me. I was really good at, as I said, putting up that shield or putting up that wall or putting up that defense to protect myself, which is basically what it was. I was putting up something in order to protect myself so that people wouldn't have something else to come at me about. So anytime someone would make fun of me about my weight, I literally would just look at them and be like, well, do you buy my clothes? Do you buy my food? Okay, so what's the problem? And that was literally my entire outlook on it. I know I'm smiling right now, but that's also still a defense mechanism. It's still difficult talking about it. But yes, that was kind of about what it was like growing up as someone that was overweight. Even as I can only speak as being someone that's Jamaican, Caribbean. When you're overweight, and my mom used to bring us back home literally every single year from we were like little babies before we could even talk. We went to Jamaica every single year for a month. Anyone that's watching that I went to elementary school with, they all know that I was gone from December to January every single year because I went to Jamaica. And my teachers, I would always bring them back a little gift. But the reason why I brought that up is because also growing up being overweight as someone that's Jamaican, and I can only speak about that because that's the only experience I have. When you're overweight and you're Caribbean, one thing they always say, and some people watching can probably relate, and if you're from any other country and this is also something that they do in your country, please share in the comment sections because I'll definitely love to know. And I want everyone else in the comment sections as well to be able to find support amongst each other as well. So it would be things like, I am going to go in between accents of trying to sound Jamaican, but I'm definitely not going to nail it on the head. So it would be things like literally people would look at you like, oh, you must have breed, oh, you're just big, so, or you just swell up, so you just look big and you just spread out, and literally like those would be things that people would say. And even after I went back to Jamaica in 2015 when I had actually lost weight. And the new thing had become, oh no man, you need to gain look of weight, you look sick. You're sick, man. What's wrong with you? You look sick bad. Like, really, like, you look sick bad. And that's really what they're honestly telling you. So it was honestly really difficult growing up being big, but even then, like, so my family probably thought I had a lot of attitude, but I'll still say the same thing I'll say to, like, kids. What I'll say to, like, my family, I'll be like, well, you don't buy my food or my clothes. So what are you really talking about? So it was honestly really difficult. Even in Jamaica, I wrote diaries and still brought them back to Canada. But that was a little bit about kind of what it was like growing up as being someone that was overweight. And if you do follow me on Instagram at Boss Diana, I'll leave that in the description. It's also, but I'll also link it in the corner of this video at Boss Diana. My first post that I ever made on Instagram was actually a challenge that I actually just did for myself. So I wanted to show that my social media was very transparent. So the first picture I ever posted on my Instagram when I got it was a picture of me when I just call myself, what was it that Monique called it? I used to say fat with a P-H-A-T, but I'm honestly not still a part of that community, so I don't know if that's still a correct term to use, but that's how I looked at myself. So I honestly loved myself when I was, as society would like to say, overweight. I still loved myself. I loved on myself hard. Like, I loved myself beyond loved myself. Like, if you look at my pictures, I was still smiling. I still wore whatever I wanted. I probably wore shorts actually more then than I wear shorts now, because I don't really like the fact of that people just stare at me all the time. So I always really try and not wear things that are like super short or super revealing, because I just feel like I'm crawling into a box. Whereas when I was bigger, I feel like my confidence was actually a bit more higher than it is right now. So as I said, if you wanted more on how it was like growing up as someone that was, as society says, overweight, that was my first post that I ever made on Instagram. And I talked a lot in detail about like the things that were said, how I felt and all the different things like that. So if you want more on that, I'll link it down in the description box, so you can go and follow me on Instagram, as well as look at that post, because I want to be super transparent in that. And I put a picture of when I was overweight and what I looked like at that time, because I wanted people to also feel like you had a support person. Because I have a lot of people that, even to this day, even when I posted that first on Facebook, because that's where I posted it first, and then when I made my Instagram, that was the first post I made on my Instagram, I got a lot of people that reached out to me and were relating to me, or they found it supportive for them because they were also going through what I was going through, or they had children that were going through what I went through when I was a child. So even to this day, when I even hear people talk about, it's kind of making me a little bit emotional right now, but even to this day, when I hear people kind of talk about children that they talk about out loud, that they either feel are overweight or too big, and they feel like they're maybe talking about it in a good way, I'm like, you don't know, unless you've ever been overweight, you don't know what it's like hearing other people that are literally talking about your weight. Like, you already deal with it every day, and you already put up the walls that you need to be able to deal with it. But then to have to hear people talking about it and either act like you don't hear it or act like it's not bothering you, it's a lot, especially when you're a child. So for anyone that has any child in their life that's like that, honestly, I'm not saying to love on that child more, but be careful in what you're saying out loud, because you honestly never know what that child is writing in their diaries. You never know. You never know what those children are going through, what those children may go through long-term basis. So I would always say, even in just general, just always be mindful of your words and what you're saying to everybody at any time, because you don't know how it's affecting somebody. And next, what we are actually going to talk about switching over is when I actually realized that I was losing weight. So I actually didn't realize first. So it was a little bit before summer 2014. I had lost about 15 pounds at that point, and a lot of people around me, they were literally just telling me, like, I'm looking at the screen because I literally wrote everything down. They're literally just looking at me, telling me like, hey, Ziana, like, you're losing weight. And I would honestly just be looking at people like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not. I would literally just think people were over exaggerating. Like, I refuse to believe anybody, because also at that point, 2014, I had already finished high school at that point. I don't know if this is going to be correct, but I believe I was about 20, 21 at that time. I'll put the correction obviously in the corner of what age I was at that time. So I really refused to believe people, but also at that time I had become even more self-conscious about my weight, because I love the way the world is today. Unfortunately, it wasn't like that when I was growing up, or even in 2014. There wasn't a lot of like acceptance around being plus size. Even if you're accepting of yourself, it wasn't really accepting. At least for me, I can only say what I see from outside. Now I feel like it's more accepting. You see more images of plus size models. There's more things on TV of people that are loving on themselves that are plus size, and it's not that they're trying to lose weight, they're just loving on themselves as they are. I didn't have those influences to actually grow up with. So I actually really love that that's actually something that's around now. You see more of not just stores that are meant for individuals that are plus size, but a lot of stores that are just starting to implement more bigger sizes. Because I remember once I was in, I believe it was Square One, and this was when I was still in high school. I had gotten into the Stitches in that mall, and I had seen that they had sizes. It literally said trial run. They had sizes, it said a word around that, like trial run, limited edition, not here for long. But basically what the worker there said is they're just looking at how it goes with clientele to see if it was something they were going to keep around. So what it was were they had jeans that were bigger than size 15, because at that point, as you can tell, I was already wearing size 15, size 16, but unless I was going to a store that was dedicated for people that were plus size. I remember in Dufferin Mall, they actually had a store that was close to the Winners. I believe that's what it was. The Winners, Toys R Us, like right when you walk into the mall from that area, that was for individuals that were plus size. And they actually had really, really amazing clothes and really stylish clothes at that. So when I was bigger growing up, the clothes that they had for people that were plus size were not stylish. They did not look like everybody else's clothes. And they just made you feel even more like you were different than everybody else. So I actually really love that that's something that they have today. And the reason why I brought that up was because I was actually really self-conscious in 2014 at that point. That's why I didn't believe anyone when they were saying I was losing weight. Because even when I wore jeans, tights were really big then. I would wear like 2-3 pairs of tights under my pants because I was so self-conscious. I didn't want my legs to shake in my jeans. So I would literally wear that much amount of tights because I just wanted everything to be like tight. And like, I just wanted it to feel like that was my own self-comfort that I was doing for myself, because I felt like by doing that, I wouldn't have that much people either looking at me. And you feel how different people look at you. I can tell you that. When I was plus size, you feel how different. Anyone that's maybe still experiencing it that is plus size right now, or was plus size before, or are currently losing weight, you see the difference of how people treat you when you are plus size. When you go into a restaurant and people look at you based on like what you're ordering and just kind of like looking at you in disgust. When you overhear conversations of strangers even talking about like, oh my gosh, like why is she eating that? She really shouldn't be doing that. Like, it was so deep. I even at one point had a teacher in elementary school. I was eating my favorite Skittles, the purple pack of Skittles, the berry pack. And the teacher literally looked at me. This was like grade 6, 7, or 8, because it was a certain particular language class. I'm not going to say the type of language class it was. But anyone that went to school with me probably knows what language class I was in with them. In terms of other languages, because in our elementary school, other than French, you also had to take either Italian or Spanish. So those language classes. The teacher literally looked at me and said, Zayana, do you really think you need to be eating those Skittles right now? And I had just put some in my mouth. I literally like went like this. Like I slowly crawled into myself and I'm like, oh my God. And I just literally just put them in my desk. And I was so ashamed to even finish what was still in my mouth. So honestly, it was just a lot. Growing up, being overweight and not feeling accepted. But even with that, I still had amazing friends. These are people that were like, obviously I had my 1-2 friends that made jokes, but at that age, you don't necessarily probably understand what you're saying. So I completely never hold anything or haven't held anything against anyone that ever said anything to me, because I had really amazing friends. Like I went to birthday parties all the time. Like I wasn't disinvited or felt like I wasn't a part of anything. Like, yeah, sometimes I may have been the butt of a few jokes, but yeah, that's how it was growing up. But yeah, that's really the self-consciousness. Like I would literally just wear the extra pair of tights under my clothes when I wore jeans, because I just felt like that would keep eyes off of me. So that's why in 2014, when I had started losing the weight, I honestly just didn't believe anything that anyone was saying to me. But first, let me say this. When I was overweight, my mom always took me to the doctor a lot, because my mom also didn't understand at certain times why I was gaining weight. So with that, also transparency moment, My weight gain, it wasn't something genetic. My weight gain was completely me, because my mom was very healthy. She cooked very healthy. But when I would come home from school, one time we were really close to a McDonald's. So I would always get McDonald's on my way home. And then another time, that school was being broken down and we were getting a brand new school rebuilt for us when I was in elementary school, so before 2008. We had moved to another school, and that school, on my way back from school, I was close to a Chinese store. So the Chinese store, I would literally get 10 egg rolls and 10 chicken wings every single day, routinely after school. So that's how I got to 225, because I didn't really understand how weight worked when I was younger, but I just understood that I loved food. My mom couldn't understand why I was gaining weight either. So that the reason why I brought that up was to say that at no point, even though I ate like that, at no point when I was overweight was I unhealthy. My mom always brought me to the doctor. Like, my organ functions were functioning completely normal. My cholesterol, my sugar, all of those things were completely normal. Nothing was out of the normal or something to be worried about at any point in time. So the reason why I brought up my health when I was overweight is because when I had started losing weight, I feel like the main reason was why I didn't want to believe everybody when they said I was losing weight or that they seen I was losing weight was because I didn't want anyone to feel that because I was overweight, I was unhealthy, and that's why I started losing weight. Because when I was overweight, I was actually very, very active. I played on basketball teams in school, baseball teams, soccer teams, flag football teams, cross country, track and field, shot put, and even outside of school, I played on rep soccer leagues. So I definitely was super active. So I never had an issue with anything like that in terms of health-wise. Even to this day, the only thing I really still have an issue with is my iron, which is just gonna be low, as I said. And now we're gonna talk about when I actually realized I was losing weight myself. Not everybody else tell me that I was losing weight. When I actually realized that I was losing weight and started making more changes in my lifestyle in terms of the way I was eating to guarantee that I'd be able to maximize my weight loss as well as be able to maintain a weight loss. So in terms of my food portions, I went from eating about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of rice or potatoes, whatever the carb was. I went from eating about that much in terms of carbs, rice, potatoes, and having about a full serving or a full serving and a half of meat and little to no vegetables on my plate. And then when I started making the changes, the first thing I did was make changes to what I eat, because 80% of your weight loss is done within the kitchen. The things that you put into your body, that is what is gonna constitute to 80% of your weight loss or your weight gain. 20% is the gym. So literally, as I tell a lot of people when they reach out to me and ask me how I did it, I tell a lot of them that I literally didn't go to the gym, a physical gym, for actually a while. I did a lot of the work just in terms of what I was eating and making those changes, because as I said, the reason I was overweight as a kid, it wasn't because my mom cooked unhealthy. She cooked very healthy, and she cooked food every single day, fresh food every single day. And we had lots and lots and lots of vegetables. So it wasn't that I didn't like vegetables either. It was that I was just eating outside of the house and then still consuming the things that my mom would make every single day. And my mom didn't know about the food I was eating outside of the house. So when she watches this video, she's actually going to be pretty surprised. Yeah. Yeah, she's going to be very surprised. That's why I said I'm sending her this video first. Yeah, so when I actually started changing the way I was eating, the first things I changed was I started eating about 1/2 cup of rice. So you eat with your eyes. So if you see a lot of food on the plate, sometimes your body's going to be tempted to finish all that food on the plate. So I literally started cutting down my portions and the amount of things I'll see on my plate. So I'll just incorporate more vegetables on my plate. So my eyes were still seeing a lot of food, But in terms of the amount of impact it would have in terms of calories and weight gain on my body, it wouldn't be that major, for the fact of a lot of the things my eyes were seeing on the plate were actually vegetables now, rather than just a lot of bad carbs for your body. So I started eating about half a cup of rice in terms of portions. I had about 1 portion of meat, protein, whether that be salmon, fish. During this time, my weight loss, I had to actually really cut out bread. I stopped eating bread, stopped eating refined sugars, stopped drinking juice, stopped buying pop. Even to this day, I really don't buy a lot of pop in my house or juice. I only buy them when I know I'm gonna have guests over, because just because I'm losing weight, I don't want to make everyone else feel like, oh, there's things that they can't eat. So when I know I'm gonna have guests over, I just try and make sure I have those things in my house. Like even right now, I have a bottle of Pepsi because I had a girls' night last night, and it's on my counter because I don't put it in the fridge to tempt me to want to drink it. And I don't get, there's actually one of my videos in the grocery haul, I think it was the first vlog I did when I was showing the grocery store. I showed the aisle that I don't even go down. The bread, the cupcakes, I don't even visit that aisle at all because I don't want to tempt myself. So if I don't go down there, I won't be tempted. Like even right now, my friend just came over, and why did they try and tempt me and bring me a Snickers bar? But yeah, that's my treat for myself because it is Friday, so that's fine. Yes, back to the portion changes. So half a cup of rice now. It was a full portion of either meats in terms of chicken, because that was all I was eating at the time, chicken or fish. No more red meat was I eating at that time. And I would have at least 3 different sides of vegetables, including a salad. So that could look like a full serving of carrots, a full serving of broccoli, and then some sauteed vegetables and a salad. So those are really the way I had broken down my diet when I started realizing that I was actually losing the weight and wanted to maximize the amount of weight that I was losing. And during this time, because of the drastic change in my diet and eating pattern, I went from 200 pounds to 150 pounds. So I started out at 225 and then lost about 15-20 pounds in the first half, and everyone had told me that I was starting to lose weight. And then when I started making all the changes to my eating habits, I was 200 pounds and got down to being about 150. And as I stated, when people were telling me that I was losing weight, the first 15 to 20 pounds, that was summer of 2014. To show you how drastic the weight loss was, it was between September to December 2014. So in less than 6 months, I went from 200 to 150 pounds. So it was a big shock to my body, to say the least. Even to this day, I actually still walk as someone that still carries a lot of weight on their body. I still walk, like I still have a lot of weight to carry. So even when I first lost weight, I was literally almost like wobbling when I was walking, because it was like learning to walk all over again. Simple things that I used to do, it was completely different because I was so much lighter and I didn't have all that weight carrying around that I had to literally get used to my entire new body all over again. And when I got to about 150 is when I started walking for at least an hour a day. So I started incorporating more walking and things like that into my workouts. So that mainly was what my workout was. And other than that, I started doing the Billy Blank's Thai bow workout. So that actually is on YouTube. So it's the 44-minute one that I do. So I'll also link that. This fly won't leave me alone. I'll also link that in the description box. So that's what my workouts at that point, once I had reached 150, that's when I started doing even just the walking. So started doing about an hour worth of walking, and the Billy Blank's Thai bow workout I would do about twice a week, and that was high-end cardio. So at first, when I tell people about this video, start very slow. Do not watch. If you're going to do the video, do not watch exactly what he is doing and try and follow him step by step, because you will either quit or you'll get frustrated with yourself. So just first try and work on the foot movement or the hand movement and then mix it together or just keep moving and doing a different workout that's similar to what he's doing, because eventually you'll start realizing that you're catching up. And that's also when you're gonna realize that your fitness is changing. So you may not want to necessarily lose weight or gain weight. You may just want to become more active. And that's a way that you can test out what levels you're at and your increase in how much more agile your body's getting and how much more stronger you're getting in your body and your core, and how much more you're getting in terms of your cardio and how long you're able to actually work out. So this is when I actually started heavily waist training. So when I mean heavily waist training, with a waist trainer, waist trainers, even now, I can say this because now I actually manufacture my own waist trainers. You're supposed to start at doing about 30 minutes to 2 hours max a day in a waist trainer, and increase over a period of about every 2 weeks. You start increasing the amount of time that you spend in your waist trainer. When I started my weight loss, when I was at about 150 pounds, I had already put my waist trainer all the way. I was wearing it for minimum 8 hours a day. So the max that you're supposed to be in it, I was wearing it for that minimum. When I mean minimum, I mean that I would work out as soon as I wake up in the morning, take my shower and everything, I put on my waist trainer. I would work out in my waist trainer until I was ready to shower again. I did not need to take off that waist trainer. And the most vital part that also impacted the amount of weight loss that I had was the fact that I started eating in my waist trainer. So I do not recommend being in your waist trainer for 8 hours a day. You can eat in your waist trainer. That's one thing that when I started waist training that I did recommend that you do, because that does aid in your weight loss. But because of how long I was wearing the waist trainer and the amount of changes I made in terms of my diet, I was already eating only half a cup of rice and 1 portion of meat or less, and still having so much, at least 3 vegetables on my plate. So my metabolism, for one, had already kicked up. It had become way faster. So I was able to realize that. So with wearing the waist trainer, it's almost like, for me, it was like getting gastric bypass surgery or a gastric sleeve. And I'll leave in the comment section in the description box a definition of what each of those are. And the reason why I say that is because with the gastric bypass or the gastric sleeve, what they're doing is, if your stomach is this big, they're stapling away and making your stomach now this big, or they're cutting away all that portion of your stomach. So that's now all you're able to intake. With doing minimum 8 hours waist training and the drastic change to my eating habits and wearing the waist trainer so long, I literally changed the size of my stomach. So my stomach went from the size of about a watermelon to the size of about a lemon. With the waist trainer making my stomach smaller in terms of my internal stomach, the organ, making it smaller, I wasn't able to intake as much food, but I was already limiting the amount of food that I was already eating. So imagine only having a plate of half a cup of rice, 1 portion of meat, and 3 vegetables, and having the waist trainer on for so long that you can't even finish that is on your plate. To the point that I had now become so small, so drastic, that I went from 150 to 223 pounds between January 2015 to April 2015. I lost that much weight from that time to that time because I had started the waist training and was eating such a little portion of rice. So it was a big, huge, drastic shift to my body. And as much as I wanted to eat more food, I didn't realize at the time that the waist trainer was also not allowing me to eat as much food anymore, or that my stomach had even changed in size. So in terms of the amount of food I was able to intake, shocked my body overall. And it was just a shock overall to my confidence, because I had gotten really small to the point, like, even though you can see my collarbones now, my collarbones were more like this at that time. And you could see my ribs more, you could see like the wings, the bones in my back, you could see that. My pelvic bone would really protrude a lot. You could literally see it up to here. You could see the bones right there. So that was a really drastic shift and a drastic shock to my body overall, and overall to just me overall. Just being able to look at myself in the mirror. At that point, I actually didn't even really want to be looking in the mirror because I just knew that I was sick at that point. I ended up being diagnosed with anorexia May of 2015 when I had gotten all the way down to 119 pounds. So that's one of the reasons why when people tell me that, oh, she got work done, or I'll hear my friends come to me and tell me, oh, this person was asking me this question, I just find it super offensive because there was a lot that it took for me to get to where I am today. Because yes, a lot of people tell me all the time, oh my God, you look amazing, like you look like you were born that way. Even those questions, yes, they're compliments and everything, but at the same time, without knowing how I got to here, it's still kind of, it's a nice compliment, but at the same time, it just brings up a lot of memories at the same time of the really difficult times of going through actually being overweight and then going through being anorexic. So it was just a really huge shift to my body. I went from being 225 pounds at basically summer 2014 to being 119 pounds May of 2015. So I had lost a huge amount of weight that I don't even remember. I remember when I had gotten down to 119 pounds, I didn't even remember ever a time in my life when I was actually that small. So it was a huge shock to my body, to my system, hearing those assumptions that some people had. That was just one assumption. The assumptions I'm actually going to cover in another episode in the series. It's just very super difficult. But after I realized that I was 119 pounds, I actually knew what I wanted for my body in terms of the weight I was comfortable at being at, because I had fluctuated through a few different weights at that point. I realized that the weight I wanted to be at was about 140 pounds. So I now knew the shape I also wanted. Other than the look, I also knew the shape I wanted, because when I was 119, even though I still have hip dips now, I literally had no hips at all. And my bum was a lot flatter, very flat. So I'll leave some pictures in the, over there. And I just knew at this time what I wanted for my body, the shape I wanted, the look I wanted to go for. But it was actually super difficult at this time. I wasn't able to just say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna gain back this weight by myself, because as I said, it was such a drastic weight loss for me. When I was diagnosed with anorexia, the reason why I said my stomach went to about the size of a lemon is because the doctor, when I explained my weight loss to the doctor and the timeline, the doctor said it was really just a shock to my body, and that they used the actual examples that my stomach went from the size of a watermelon to about a size of a lemon. So that's why sometimes when I ate, because I knew I wanted to gain weight back, when I would be eating, it would be almost so painful to take more than one bite and actually be able to eat it, because it felt like I was stretching my stomach. Like it felt like this was my stomach and I was just trying to stretch my stomach just by eating one thing. So that was super difficult. And at that time was when I realized that it was either that I was going to go to basically a rehab for people with eating disorders or anorexia, as my doctor said, or I was going to go to my mom's house. So I decided that obviously I was going to go to my mom's house. So that's what I did. I went to my mom's house for a few months, actually. I went to my mom's house from about, it was May I found this out. I went to my mom's house a little bit after that for about a month, 3 weeks to about a month, I believe it was. And the first time that I went, my mom obviously already knew how small I had gotten, but she didn't know how bad it was because obviously we didn't live together. I had my own place at that time as well. So it was really difficult for my mom to see. So my mom was the one that was cooking for me and everything. And when she realized it was really bad was when she woke up one morning to make me breakfast the first day. And she literally made eggs for me. It was just eggs she made for me. And I literally ate. I took up like probably 2 or 3 pieces, put them in my mouth. I was able to chew those and swallow that. And then I picked up like 2 more pieces and started chewing it. And I was probably chewing those pieces for about 10 minutes. And my body just didn't want to swallow it. Like, I don't think anyone knows how difficult it was. I would literally be telling myself in my brain, like, Zayana, you need to eat this. You need to eat this. You have to swallow this. You have to swallow this. And my body just didn't want to. My body's like, no, I'm full. I don't want to eat, because my stomach had shrunk so much that my stomach was already telling my brain that I was full, but yet I knew that I wasn't full and I wanted to eat more. It was just that the eating disorder anorexia was so bad at that time that I wasn't able to do that, to the point that it was really my mom. Thank you, Mom. I love my mom so much. My mom really just told me, even though the doctor also told me what I had to do, but my mom really, like, the emotions behind, that's my mother. Like, I'm the only daughter to my mom and my dad out of 6 boys. So it was very, very hard for her to see me like that. And especially how independent I am. She knew something was definitely wrong with me when I went to her house and was like, it's either I'm coming here or I'm basically gonna die, because my body won't allow me to eat. And by the time I actually had gone to my mom's, I was 119 when I was diagnosed with anorexia. By the time I had gone to my mom's, I was 115, 114 pounds at that time, because I still wasn't able to eat as much as I want. So I was still losing weight without even doing anything. So that was super difficult. But my mom stayed home with me from work, and she just sat beside me. And anytime I ate, she would literally just look at me and she'd be like, you just need to take one more bite. She's like, because each time you take an extra bite and you're able to swallow it, no matter how long it takes you, the next time you can add another bite on top of that. And that was really how I was able to slowly start gaining weight back, because it was just hard. It was really difficult. That was a really hard and difficult and trying time in my life, realizing that I had gone from being overweight, as society puts it, to now I was basically fighting for my life. I was unhealthy for the actual first time in my life, because I wasn't unhealthy when I was overweight. I was physical all the time. I was active, should say, all the time. Yes, I ate bad sometimes, but overall, the doctors never found anything wrong with me or anything like that. But when I had gotten so small, I was literally diagnosed with anorexia. I could feel the difference in my body. I could feel at how weak I was, how low of energy I had, and my irons even, it was actually lower than it was when I was overweight, because that drastic weight loss. Obviously, when I was doing the weight loss before, there were certain things I didn't know that my body still needed, even though I wanted to lose weight. That's why I always say, if you're going to lose weight, just make sure you're always doing it the right way and stretching out your weight loss throughout a good amount of time. You're not doing a huge drastic shift on your body by yourself without knowing what the repercussions could possibly be. So that was basically the sum up of how it was growing up as someone that was overweight, when people started realizing that I was losing weight, when I realized I was losing weight, when I actually started doing the work to lose weight, when I was diagnosed with an eating disorder, and then when I had to check myself into basically my mom's house again. After being a grown-up, having to check myself back into my mom's house, because I needed her to assist me in being able to actually eat and sitting down with me and making sure I actually took those extra bites. Because if I was home by myself, I wouldn't have been able to force myself to take those extra bites. I would have wanted to, but it wouldn't have been able to work for me. So I hope that was super helpful for anyone that's watching. If you know anyone that's going to be helpful for, please, 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 please share with them. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notification bells, because as I said, this is a series. And next week, we will be talking about a few other topics amongst my weight loss, about all the different assumptions that I had on me during my weight loss, how I actually started the process of gaining weight back and actually getting to the shape that I wanted, and what it was overall that I now do to be able to maintain my weight loss. And that is my 10-year challenge personal on my weight loss journey. And I hope that this was useful for someone that you know. If it was not useful for you, please remember to comment in the description box, comment in the comment section, any comments or questions that you may have for me about anything that I said. And as I said before in the beginning, I will make sure to address those in next week's episode. At the end of that episode, I will address all the comments that I get left in the comment section on this video. So yes, and I hope that you all have an amazing weekend, as it is Friday. I hope that you all had a very productive and happy week. If your week didn't go the way that you planned, remember, we're still in the beginning of the year. We still have a lot more weeks, a lot more days to go. So just plan over the weekend what it is that you need to get done, what is most important, and prioritizing that for next week. And we'll get it done next week because we still have time, and just being thankful for life and where we are in the moment. Have a great day, everybody.